Welcome to Real Talk Christian Podcast, where we drink coffee and have real conversations on faith, culture, and society. I'm your host, Chris Fuller.
And I'm Janeal Fuller.
And on today's episode, we actually have a really cool episode for you guys today. We're going to be talking about how to make disciples at home and how important family devotions are and how they can look a little different than normal. We have a special guest on for you today, and we're looking forward to having this conversation. Janeal, are you ready?
Let's go.
Let's go. Well, it's another fun-filled day.
It's a Tuesday.
It's a Tuesday. It's an unusual for me, anyways.
Yeah.
Maybe not for you, but for me, unusual day. But it's a good day. It's a very good day. So here we are on another episode of Real Talk Christian Podcast, and I have my lovely assistant over here, Janeal Fuller. You don't know what to do with your hands. But anyways, so happy you guys could join us today and be a part of our Real Talk Christian community, really. We appreciate every single one of you. Janeal, is there anything here as of late that you have seen in the Real Talk Christian Podcast community page that has really piqued your interest? Non-political.
Oh, okay. Oh, man. You knew what I was going for.
I did. And I had to go kibosh.
Man, I can't think of anything off the top of my head.
Okay.
You put me on the spot.
I'm sorry.
How about you?
Yeah. So, I mean, I know that we still have our in-community Bible studies going on. We still do our every Monday post about prayer. There's been a lot of prayer requests coming, some praises. Actually, one of the listeners talked about how they just recently, after years of looking for a church, got into a church and got baptized. And
I did see that one.
I thought that was very, very cool.
Yeah,
like I was very excited about that. So, yeah, just super excited to be walking on these faith journeys with each and every person and coming alongside them the best that we can and bringing guests on that maybe can help move things closer to God and bring families closer together as well.
In a different, unique way.
In a different, and almost kind of dangerous way.
Yeah.
You like how I alluded to that? But yeah, so today we do have a special guest on. We have Tim Shoemaker is coming on the show to talk about some different ways that we can do devotions. I don't want to give too far into it yet because I'm excited and I want Tim to really talk about things about this. I'm trying to be reserved with it right now. But before we can do that, we got to always do our housekeeping here on the podcast. And
I do enough of that all day.
That's right. Typically, we are drinking coffee, although I'm not drinking coffee right now. I'm drinking tea because we've got small group tonight in which I'm going to be drinking coffee. So if I had coffee now and then coffee then, I would be overly caffeinated and up all night. So right now, I'm drinking that blood orange tea.
From Apotheca?
Yes, that is my sixth word. For those of you who've been listening for a while, you understand that inside joke. What do you got going on over there? Just water?
Just plain old ice water.
All right. Well, as always, we have a review to read from one of you, our listeners. And if you guys remember, if you leave a review or if you've already left a review, reach out to us, Real Talk Christian Podcast @gmail.com, and let us know so that we can send you your free mini swag bag. So do you want to read the review or you want me to read it?
You're going to read it because last time you made me read it and I messed it up. So
that's right.
Your turn.
I mess up words all the time. It's fine. All right. Well, today is it's an older review from 7 months ago, but it's from Tiny Tank. I like it. Tiny Tank says, a great Christian podcast. I just started listening and I'm already on episode 6. Mark and Chris do a great job discussing issues Christians face in the world. Oh, you'll find out here in a while. Mark Hyde had to step away from the show due to some personal things going on, but I'm glad that you're still enjoying it. They use personal stories, anecdotes, personal convictions, and most importantly, scripture. I'm looking forward to diving deeper into their show and content. Thank you, gents. God bless and keep up the good works for the glory of God. Well, gents. Tiny Tank gents. I love it.
Sophisticated.
Tiny Tank. We appreciate you and appreciate you leaving the review to help us get into the ears of other people and other listeners. If you have not reached out to us already, reach out to us with your name and address. Say, hey, I left this review for you guys, and we'll get I'll gather the things, but Janeal will ship.
One of us will get it. You've been doing it too.
I've been trying to do my best here, but we'll get that review or that mini swag bag sent out to you. Also, if you guys know of anybody or you yourself are in need of a Bible, we still do have Bibles here at Real Talk Christian Podcast. They are completely free to you. All you have to do is send us your name and your address, or the name and the address of the person who needs a Bible, and we will ship that out to you usually within a couple weeks. Sometimes we lag a little bit because life is crazy, but we'll get that sent out to you if you are in need of a Bible. Also, don't forget, we have Revive Fest coming up here soon, July 24th and 25th, in Leodenias, Michigan, and there's going to be a bunch of cool artists. I'm going to actually do probably some sort of promo video to put out there for everybody that's listening, but I just wanted to give them a quick plug. Actually, Matt Grimm, one of the leaders of that festival, is a listener of ours. So it's great to be able to partner with him. We've partnered with them for the past few years, and actually several episodes have come out of the podcast from Revive Fest with me and Mark. So it was a lot of fun doing that. But I think that's all the housekeeping. Am I missing anything? I don't think so.
I don't think so.
All right. Well, then we can get excited now. All right. Woo-hoo! I know you've been holding back, but we can get excited because today we're joined by author and speaker Tim Shoemaker, who wrote the very best hands-on, kind of dangerous family devotions. And not just one, not just two, but three, 3 volumes of it. And it's a book that helps families move from just talking about faith to actually experiencing it together. So, oh man, I don't have my applause anymore, but let's put our hands together for Tim. Tim, welcome to the podcast.
Hey, I'm happy to be here. Thank you both.
Well, we're so glad to have you here today. Man, we had a little bit of a time to chat a little bit, and Janeal and I were kind of sharing with you that we've actually been doing these devotions with our family, and our kids are. It's kind of like the special devotions that our kids look forward to each and every week. I mean, they're super excited about it.
I love that.
And I would love to, before we totally jump into what the books and why, the content of the books and why they're important, I would love to just kind of hear your story and what made you first realize that families needed a different approach when it comes to devotions.
Oh, well, when I was growing up, my dad was great with family devotions. I mean, he had them every night of the weekdays. The weekends were usually a little bit different, but so he's great. 5 nights a week, he led family devotions, but honestly, they were boring. It was just reading something, a page devotional or so, maybe reading some scripture with it. And, it's not like I ever wanted to tell him that. I didn't, want to hurt his feelings. And it was so important. I respected him so much for doing that. But then my wife and I raised 3 boys. And then as they're starting to get older, I'm thinking, oh my goodness, I don't want them bored like was.
Yeah.
Right. And you could see it. You could see where you're not holding their attention. So these types of devotions were born out of trying to reach my own sons. And so that's how it started is, how do I hold their attention long enough to get a nugget of truth in? And we found that obviously doing object lessons, doing little activities, things like that, keep them engaged. And it etches whatever the truth of that lesson is in with that activity, and they remember it, and it's so powerful.
Yeah, that's great. And you said something really important of how it's almost like, so in your own personal life there was a little bit of, it was boring, right? And I can see that in our kids quite often, especially my 6.5-year-old son. We'll be doing devotions, our normal standard devotions, which we've done for years. And you can see he's rolling around on the floor and doing other things. But there's a point when we started using your devotional book and we've engaged now. And I think that is so important. Now, kind of fast forwarding into your own personal life with your children, did you see the same type of struggles with doing just a standard family devotion of kind of like what you experienced as a child, and then that's maybe how you came up with the idea?
Yeah, definitely. I had probably a half a bookshelf of devotional books that I'd stopped and started. And so I was very much stop and start with family devotions as a dad. And I felt so guilty about that because, my dad was so consistent.
Yeah.
And here I am not consistent, but I was just troubled by the fact I wasn't holding their attention well. And one time I just tried this little magic trick. It was a coin trick. It wasn't really a magic trick, but a little coin trick that I knew. And I tied in a little application, and the boys were all engaged, and that was great. And the next week I did another one that I knew and tied in a little application, and they were engaged. So I started doing, things that were active, a little object lesson, tying in a nugget of truth. And I think the thing where I knew I had turned the corner, Chris and Janeal, was when one of the boys asked me, "Hey, when are we doing family devotions?" And I thought, oh my goodness, a question I had never asked my dad,
That's cool.
And so I kept, working at those so I wouldn't be the stop and start dad. And I started writing them down actually for them so that they wouldn't struggle someday when they were trying to teach their kids. But, God had a different plan for that. That ended up, becoming volumes of books.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I totally resonate with what you're saying because, like I explained to you before we started the podcast, Janeal and I have experienced that with our kids where they look forward to that object lesson, to doing something and then tying it in with God, which we had never tried before until we got our hands on your book. And I love the title of your book, but I do have a question. So the title is The Very Best Hands-On Kind of Dangerous Family Devotions. What does kind of dangerous mean?
All right, it's not too bad, but we'll use fire. At times, there's some that include sulfuric acid. We'll do things where we blow something up in the microwave. Where we use safety glasses, things like that. And I'll tell you what, anytime you have to pull out safety glasses, the kids are already leaning in.
Oh, yeah.
They want this. When you do something that they feel it might be a little risky or something that normally isn't done, like putting a raw egg in the microwave, they're loving that. So they're already engaged and looking to see how you're going to turn this into a lesson.
Yeah.
But in the meantime, they love it.
Yeah. Yeah. I love that because it kind of tells parents that, hey, this isn't your typical sit still, we're going to do devotions, be quiet. And I know I've been guilty of this myself, and Janeal will attest to that I'll be like, hey, time to quiet down. It's devotion time. And, the kids are just like, rocking back and forth, and I can't sit still. And so I think it's important, and you're really tapping into something deep where it's an experience with information rather than just information, right? And so why do you think that is so important, especially for kids that when you tie in an object lesson, why do they seem to respond differently than just a sit and learn style?
Well, I think that's so much the way we're wired to learn. We're wired to learn experientially. You think about sons learning alongside their dad on the farm or at the forge or whatever it is. And girls learning alongside their mom or some other more experienced figure in their life that is going to teach them the different skills and such they need. So we're wired to learn that way. We're not great, at least a lot of us aren't great at sitting at a desk and learning like so much of our school is. That's an acquired taste, I guess.
Yeah.
But it's hard. It's hard for our kids. And so I find that they just resonate with that. And you see Jesus taught like that so much. And I think that's the big thing. He is the master teacher, right? He was the best. And here we see these little nuggets of truth he kept giving people through story and through activities. A lot of times we don't think of them as activities, but every time he healed somebody, it was an object lesson.
Yeah.
And there was a lot of those.
That's true.
Yeah, that's you're absolutely hitting the nail on the head because we see all the parabolic language that he uses, and he's tying it into things that they know, these object lessons that people of that time would have fully understood, like the parable of the sheep, the parable of the prodigal son, the good Samaritan. All of these object lessons, and it really drew the people in. And so I can see how that would draw children in, right? It's the everyday things. But I got to ask, and I know that we've talked about it. We've looked through the book, and so I'm trying not to give too much away because I could just sit here and chat with you about our experience. But when it comes to doing these object lessons, is it going to break the bank? Are parents going to need to go out and buy a bunch of stuff in order to do these object lessons for every devotion that they're going to do?
No. A lot of the things you'll have at home. Sometimes you don't have to pick up anything. You might do a devotional where you take a little ride in the car. So we try to make it pretty accessible that way. Or maybe you'll have to run to the hardware store and pick up some things. If there's something that's more pricey, if I can put it that way, that becomes kind of an option. If you want to use a paintball gun instead of a squirt gun, to do it, well, you could do that, and maybe would make more of an impact, which it would. But sometimes that's our excuse to get something we'd really like to get.
Yeah.
But no, it doesn't. That is how I got a paintball gun.
It works. You know what? I think I could do an object lesson for a motorcycle.
No.
Oh my goodness, yes. But that's the thing, and that's how I got a more expensive paintball gun, because I thought I could teach it better.
There you go.
So sometimes family devotions is a license to do some things that we might not have done otherwise. But you know what? That makes it that much more fun for the kids, really. Yeah. To see what goofy thing we're going to do. But no, it shouldn't break the bank at all. And a lot of things, if we had to maybe we're going to pick up a glow stick. Okay, it's a trip to the dollar store.
Right.
Yeah.
And, you've picked up a glow stick for each of the kids. So easy stuff.
So, I want to talk about one of your lessons in volume 1, right? It's one that we kind of talked about. We touched on that we did last night, and it was called Secret Message. And anybody who you're going to want to buy this book. You're going to want to do it. Even if you don't have kids, you're going to still want to buy this book and try it because it's so much fun. But
it'd be even good, honestly, for if you teach Sunday school.
Sunday school, VBS.
Like Wednesday night kids. Yeah, VBS
Absolutely
stuff. Yeah.
So, but I really enjoyed the engagement. And we talked about kind of dangerous. So in that section, you say, hey, you might want to practice this at first because it involves fire and paper, and you might want to do it over a sink. Well, Janeal, what happened last night with our experience?
I did exactly the opposite of what I tell our kids to do. I tell them to read instructions and follow them, and I did not practice like you said to, and I lit the paper on fire.
And the kids...
And I did not do it over a sink either.
The kids' faces lit up. They were like, wow, it's on fire. It's burning. And I grab it and I run over to the sink, throw it in.
Well, 2 of them thought it was awesome, except for the one it was their paper. I'm so sorry.
But with all that, like you said, you can make it as big or as small as you need to. And that's one of the things that I love about the versatility of this devotion book is that you don't have to, we haven't gone in order. We haven't gone, okay, well, here's lesson 1, here's lesson, I think the Secret Message is lesson 26 or something like that? Or
I don't know. We've done them we've done 3 or 4 of them.
Yeah, we've kind of bounced around a little bit, and depending on, busyness of the week and what it's going to involve or what it's going to take. The other one we did was the one with the money and the light. What was that one called? That was a great object lesson though, too. She's got them marked. But that was another thing, that it could be as big or as small as you need it to be. Mm-hmm. Now, as we look at that, and as we kind of see, okay, it's kind of dangerous. We can make it fun. It's an object lesson. Christ taught like this. Why do you think so many family devotions struggle to figure this out? This whole devotion. Why is it? Why did it take you? Having to sit through devotions and kind of think about it. And then your kids, all I've ever known. So me growing up, I never had family devotion. So I thought, hey, it's a catechism. You go through and you're going to catechize your kids, or you're going to talk about Bible stories, and it's a lesson every single night. But then I come across this, and it's almost like a light bulb was turned on. Right? It's like the whole room is illuminated. Why do you think it's so hard for family devotions to really connect with kids in the first place? And why do you think that makes such a difference from the interactive storytelling, I would say, that you do in your books?
Well, I think for some reason, it's like our society has turned things upside down from the scriptural example. So for example, let's say, we're used to church and sitting through a sermon, which, let's assume they're all excellent. They're great. And you can access any sermon, for the last 5-10 years that's been preached from this pulpit at any particular church around the country. All of this stuff, recording all these sermons. And we're so used to hearing a deeper dive into the word and 3 points and take it to these applications. And so we want to do the same thing with our kids often. But here's the crazy thing. Think about this, Chris and Janeal. God, in his infinite wisdom, only recorded one of Jesus' sermons. Only one. He only gave us one. But he gave us tons of his stories and lots of his healings, his object lessons, and other object lessons that he taught. And as you even go through the Old Testament, there's all these crazy things with the prophets where they were really giving object lessons. So God knows how we're wired. He wired us.
Yeah.
And he has done so much with examples of just the little nuggets of truth that it's easier for us to remember. I mean, think about this. The most important lesson that Jesus was going to teach. I mean, this was it. If people didn't get it, it was going to be bad, right? And if there was ever a time to huddle everybody up and speak plain and give them a 3-point, 50-minute sermon, this was going to be it. But instead, he chose an object lesson, and that was the cross. And he demonstrated this is forgiveness.
Yeah.
This is love, and nobody forgot it. And probably half your listeners have got a cross around their neck or a necklace in a drawer someplace. With that, we don't forget the object lesson. So God knows how we're wired, and it's just a great way to do it. But our society has gone the other way, as if that makes us more spiritual. Hey, Jesus taught in Matthew 7, right? The wise and the foolish builder. There's like two kinds of people who go to church. Those that hear the word and put it into practice, and those who hear the word that don't put it into practice. Everybody going to church, they're hearing the word. Yeah. But it's really hard for them to put it in practice. Some of them, they're not doing it. In our families, wow, let's make that easy for them. Give them nuggets of truth of the word. Yeah. It's going to make it a whole lot easier for them to practice that.
Yeah, absolutely. And I mean, you've convinced us, right? You've made believers out of object lessons for us. But I would almost even venture to say by now, you've probably convinced quite a few of our listeners that, hey, man, this sounds really good. This sounds like a great thing to do with my family. But I struggle because at times, this gets in the way or that gets in the way, this sport or that sport. How do you help parents that feel like they're having issues with consistency, that they're really struggling they start off strong, but things kind of just fall off the track?
Yeah. Well, I think, taking one step back and looking at, for them to realize that teaching their kids is of paramount importance spiritually, right? It is extremely important, the most important thing that they can do. And so there's an enemy that's going to try to mess that up. And so a lot of these things that happen, this one's sick, or we get this phone call, or there's this sporting event, and all the schedule changes, realize that sometimes there's a strategy behind that. The enemy doesn't want you to do this. And so there's so many things that can cause us to stop. Remember before I was saying I would stop and start. And so when I'm talking with parents, I'm trying to, help them over any hurdles. But for one thing I would say there is when you've got different schedules and it's hard to get all the kids together, don't miss your devotional time. Do it with the ones that you've got. So even if there's somebody that's going to be gone, they're not going to be there, whatever, do it with the kids that you've got and then catch up with that one later. You can always repeat that. And if the other kids want to hang in there and see that activity again, it's just going to reinforce it that much more. But we want to get in that habit of doing it every week. And then, there's other things that you can do too, is and I'm not sure, Chris and Janeal, how you do it, but I encourage parents, hey, use the book, use the notes that you have there. You don't have to try to memorize this. It'll take too long to prep.
Yep.
Yeah.
And you'll probably go long because you're trying to remember this stuff, or you'll miss some points. You know what? Have the book in front of you.
Yeah.
But especially if the kids get older, when you open it up, they should see some marking in there. Circle things, highlight things, cross something out. If I give you 3 verses that you might use, circle the one you plan to use. Make a note in the side of the margin, something so that they see you've been there. But use that to keep you on the track. And your devotional time will actually be shorter that way, and it'll take less prep, and it's easier to keep at it consistently.
Yeah, absolutely. I think the way you've laid it out, I mean, we pretty much live with the book, when we're doing the devotions, we have it right in hand to help us. Okay, what's the next step? Well, okay, we read through the instructions. All right, we need to do this, this, and this. So we got the object lesson. We kind of understand that. We kind of maybe even put our own spin on it, depending on how big or how small we want to make it. But then the way you tie in that object lesson, it really is it's beautifully written. And so I'm able to just take it and just read what you've wrote. And it's like, I'm learning something. It's like, wow, I never would have, attributed this object to this lesson, but I like it. Like, it totally fits. It definitely makes sense.
It's so good.
And so as I see this, I'm thinking to myself, all right, so we have kids that are all around the same age, a 9, an 8, and a 6.5-year-old. But there might be some mixed families, like my old co-host, Mark. He's got age ranges from 14 down to 2. We've got other friends that've got a 17-year-old down to 1. How, when you have this wide array of age ranges, how do you make this work across the board? How do you take these lessons and really apply it with each kid, maybe where they're at, like a teenager and like a grade school kid and maybe a smaller child?
Okay. All right. Boy, you hit on something that's so key, not only to get through to the kids, but also to keep us from being stop and start. Mm-hmm. Because if we're trying to hit that whole range, we're going to be losing them.
Yeah.
And then that's going to discourage whoever's leading the devotions, and then they're going to want to start skipping weeks or they quit. So this is a great thing to talk about. So here's the thing. When you've got a wide age range, so you mentioned a friend that's got him like from 17 down to 1. Was that right?
Yeah. Yep.
Something like that. Okay. So here's the thing. My target is always the oldest. It's the oldest group of kids. And I'll say this for shock value. We don't care about the young ones.
Right.
We just don't care. We've got less time with the older ones. And the older ones are closer to the bigger dangers. Mm-hmm. So we keep it at their level. If we bring it down to the little ones level, even for a minute, our older ones will check out.
Yeah, that's true.
We won't get them back on that devotional, and we may not get them back, period, because so many of our kids, they're thinking, Bible lessons, that's Sunday school stuff, or that's Bible picture storybook stuff. That's for little kids. I'm too old for this. And so you would just reinforce that thinking, and that's going to make it really tough moving forward. So we focus on the older ones. Now, it's not just that we just talk to them. Okay, but let's say Chris, you and Janeal are brother and sister. And let's say, Chris, you're 16 and Janeal is 6. Okay. And so I'm going to keep it at your level, Chris, but it's not that I'm just only going to be talking to you. I'll be talking to the group, but maybe when we're done, I've created a little mess or something. And I might say, hey, Chris, while I'm cleaning up, would you make sure that your little sister understood what we were talking about? And there's that subtle message. It was for him. Right. Or you might say, or I might say, hey, Chris, listen, we're done. You can stay or you can take off, whatever you'd like to do. But Janeal, would you stay while I'm cleaning up? I want to make sure you understood what we were talking about.
Yeah.
And so I never bring it down to their level during the devotion. It's only afterwards that I would do that. Yeah.
Okay. That's a good idea.
Yeah. So with that, how would So, we're a family, right? We're husband and wife, mother and father. We're doing this together. What about families that may be a single parent in the household? Is this something I know? Maybe somebody goes, well, I'm just a mom. This seems like, maybe it's geared toward dads, or you're a dad and you don't feel like you're spiritually adequate to be able to lead your family in devotions. What would you say to the single parent or to the person that's not feeling adequate enough to do devotions with their family?
Oh, the single parent, they can do this easily. We make it easy. It's not like you have to have both parents there to do this. There's going to be a list of some things that they might want to make sure that they've got together before, and we're going to encourage them to practice it, unlike what Janeal did, right?
Go follow my example.
And so there's no reason why they can't do that. Now, if they were super intimidated, maybe they get together with another family. I know one guy, and he got together with some other dads, and they got all their kids together, and the dads took turns teaching, or they did it together. So it was a once a week thing. They met out at their fire pit, and they did a devotional. So, you can get creative that way as well. But to that, you had mentioned like a dad who maybe doesn't feel adequate. What if I don't know the answers? Or the enemy keeps telling him, you know what you did. You are not you've disqualified yourself from teaching the kids. That's an enemy tactic. He does not want your voice in their life, but they're desperate for it. And so I would say, you know what? Trust God. He can give you the answers. And if you get stumped by a question, you say, you know what, kids, that's a great question. But Dad, think about that. I'll get back to you in a couple of days.
Yeah.
And you can do a little searching. You can call the pastor. You can call a mentor friend and get some feedback back. But don't let that stop you. It's only the enemy that wants you to do it. And we're only giving nuggets of truth.
Yeah.
It's not meant to be hard.
Yeah. So what happens if you're doing this, say with your 16-year-old, 17-year-old, and you're giving that nugget of truth, and it opens that door to a deeper, more spiritual conversation? How would you then go about that with because like you said, if you have a wide range of ages, you're really going after, and I totally agree with you, you're going after the older one hard because you have less time with them in your home. So right. How do you look for those opportunities, those open doors to have that more deep conversation with them that maybe goes beyond just what you've written in the book? How do we do that as parents?
Well, when they're asking a question or you're sensing that's where it's at, boy, you want to make that time. Now, maybe that at the moment isn't going to be a good time. Maybe you're doing this at bedtime and you've got other ones to get to bed or whatever it is. So you say, hey, you know what? Let's pick up this conversation after we get your brothers and sisters to bed. And then you go in their room and you can talk late. Or maybe you set it up to talk the next day. Let's talk more about that. But I want to be able to give you my full attention. So here's what we're going to do. Tomorrow afternoon, right after dinner, whatever it is, let's you and I go out to whatever. Maybe it's a fast food place. Maybe you're going to get some fries and a soft drink or whatever. And the two of you just talk, and that can open the door for so much good. Yeah. But you want to get the undivided.
Absolutely.
And it probably makes them feel special too, like getting that like one-on-one time to discuss it. They know they're important enough that you're taking that time for them. Yeah.
And you're valuing their questions, and their questions are okay. It's okay to question. You want them they're going to have questions, but you want them to verbalize it, to know that it's okay. It's healthy to be curious about things and to have questions to make sure, that they're getting it right.
Absolutely. All right. So say you've convinced these parents out there that, hey, this is the way I should be doing it. What would you say if they wanted to start tonight? What's the first step they should take?
Well, I would say, let's say they had the book. Pick one of those and just do it. And I'd remind them usually I would say, be mindful of your own walk, right?
Yeah.
Pick a devotion and start. Never wait until you're ready, because you're never going to feel ready. So if you don't feel ready, you're ready. That's what you want to feel. You want to be dependent on the Lord just a little bit, and a whole lot, actually. But you understand what I mean on that is that if you go in there, oh, yeah, I got this. Oh, yeah. You probably don't.
Yeah.
So, just start. Make your first one short and fun.
Yeah.
And that'll help, help get you going.
Absolutely.
And you've got a full week to
prepare for the next one. Yeah, absolutely. So I was going to ask you, what's your recommendation with using your book? Is it a once a day thing? Is it once a week thing? Is it a couple times a week? What's your recommendation for how to use your book?
I would do it once a week. You might even have a routine like you two do, where you've already got an established family devotional pattern. Great. Stick with that. But once a week, swap it out and do something active. That way, if they are, let's say when they get to the teenage years and they're really good about checking out but not showing it, they're not going to be able to check out when you're doing something active, especially if one of them is a volunteer in this activity that you're doing. And so, once a week is a great way to do it. It'd be too much prep to try to do it every night like this, honestly. And just once a week, but you make it a little event.
And that way the parents aren't getting burnt out on it either,
Exactly.
Exactly.
Yeah. Right. But you think about it. If you were to say, hey, tell me the last 10 sermons, you've heard at church. Well, they probably couldn't do that.
Yeah.
None of us could.
Right.
But the fact of the matter is, they're going to remember these at a much higher level.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And so you think about if you did this throughout the year, and let's say you miss a few weeks, let's say you got, 42 of the 52 weeks, you had a family devotion. And if they retain 42 nuggets of truth, massive. That's massive.
Absolutely. So, kind of as we get close to wrapping up here, as we like to say on the show, as we're getting ready to land the plane, I'm trying to think of how I want to ask this. What do you hope families walk away with after using your book or books, more volumes?
Okay. Well, the first thing is I want them, as they look at it, to feel equipped, not intimidated. I want them to see, hey, I'm coming alongside you, showing you how to do this. And I want them to feel equipped. I want them to be saying, as they're reading it, I can do this. I can do this. And I think my kids would get into this. So that's the initial reaction I want. And then as there's consistent, a couple things that I found in my life, after doing something like this for, let's say, a year or so, there was this, I don't know if you want to say peace, but it was this knowing I was doing what God designed me to do, to teach the kids in an effective way. And there was nothing else that could fill that void. It was this knowing, hey, no matter what else is going on in life, I'm getting this right, Yeah. And that was a really, really important thing. And I also found that it became easier and easier to talk about spiritual things in everyday life, which is the Deuteronomy example. So that's the other thing I'd want them to know. As they do this, talking about spiritual things get easier. And then there's the one thing that caught me by surprise, and that was how often the Holy Spirit was just, kind of hitting me right between the eyes and showing me where I had to shape up on something. And because of doing that, I was a different person than I would have been if I hadn't been doing family devotion. So here I want to teach the kids, but it was also growing me. And that helped me be the man that I should be, which meant I didn't lose my kids' respect.
Yeah.
And I was able to keep speaking into their life in those teenage years. And that's big.
Yeah. Yeah. You built like a legacy with them almost,
Yeah.
So, well, Tim, I really do appreciate you coming on to the show with us today as we kind of land the plane. Where can people find your books and your resources at? I want you to be able to have all the time to plug it in everything. I know we've got all 3 of the volumes of your devotions, the very best hands-on kind of dangerous family devotions. I bought the 72 questions and answers about life and becoming the man God designed you to be, the book you wrote with your son. I'm looking forward to going through that on my own. And then there's another one I got to pick up, I know, that you were telling me about before the show, but I'll let you plug it in.
Yeah, that was what to say and how to say it to your teen. That's a really important thing. As your kids get a little bit older, the way you talk with them or to them has got to change. There's going to be some changes to take place if you want to continue to get through to them. And so we want to show you how to do some of that. And then there's just conversations we need to have with them. And sometimes if they're not asking about it, maybe we don't want to do it. We want to avoid it, but they're going to ask somebody, or somebody's going to input into their life. So, we go over these 30 conversations we need to have. That's a really important one. And then fiction. I write fiction too, mystery, adventure, suspense, thrillers, for basically junior high and up. So I've got a bunch of those. So there's, awesome. I think right now we're at 9, and Focus on the Family has asked for another 3. So.
Oh, that's awesome.
That's great.
Yeah.
That's great.
That's really cool.
Well, Tim, is there anything else that you want to say that maybe I missed, or maybe that you wanted to touch on? Or Janeal, I guess I could throw it your way too. Is there anything you want to ask Tim that maybe I missed? I've been trying to think through all the notes that I had, and I think I've covered everything I have. Do you have anything? And then we'll let you finish kind of the conversation out, Tim.
I just want to thank you actually for your time that you put into this with your kids. Absolutely. And sharing it with everybody else. Like, you didn't have to share that with, you didn't have to write a book and put it out for everyone else. And I just want to thank you for that. I know for us, like our youngest, our 6.5-year-old, he will ask after we do devotions, we always say, does anybody want to pray? And he's always like, nope. But the first time we did one of your devotionals, he wanted to pray that night, which was awesome. So,
good.
Yeah. So I just want to thank you for sharing it. And I really think everybody would enjoy this. I think the parents will enjoy the interaction. The kids will love the interaction with their parents, having that one-on-one time with them. I think it's special. And like we were talking before we started the show, it'd be a great thing to pick up before the summer.
Absolutely.
Yeah, for sure. And I think, 2 things keep popping in my mind, just as you're talking about wrapping it up. And, there might be somebody out there, one of your listeners, and they just know, with one of their teenagers say, they're going to push back. And it's really hard to do a devotional if you've got somebody that's sullen, and really making it difficult for you.
Yeah.
And so, the thing I would tell them is do it anyway. Yeah. But here's a little thing that you can do is you might have a conversation with that teenager on the side and say, hey, and let's say it's Chris, Chris, I know, I sense you're pushing back on this a little bit. Maybe you're thinking it's for kids or whatever, but I wish I'd done more of this when you were younger, and I didn't, but I really see the burden. I need to do this as a parent. So work with me on this. And you're kind of explaining, you're treating them a little bit different. Another approach to that is simply to say, so here's what we're going to do. I'm going to make you my helper. Okay, so we're going to run these activities, and I need you to help me do it. So, he might be the one lighting the fire. He might be the one, doing these things. Now you're getting him involved. Mm-hmm. He's in a different thing. He doesn't feel like it's all aimed at him. Mm-hmm. He's a helper. Yeah. And it treats him in his mind more like he's an adult, or her mind. And you can get a lot more cooperation that way. They're still learning the lessons.
Yeah.
They're also being trained how to do it when they become a parent someday.
That's true.
So, that's a thing there. And the other is for the parent out there that's just, the enemy's just torturing them, trying to tell them they're disqualified or they're just not qualified enough. Fear is holding them back.
Yeah.
Try it. Do it. Okay, don't let the enemy. He just wants you to leave your kids unprotected, and we don't want to do that.
Yep.
Yeah, absolutely. And yeah, just to tie off of family devotions have always been a big part of our family. And I encourage everybody that if you have kids to really, I can't recommend these books enough. I mean, they're great books and resources to have. I know a lot of people like, well, what should I do here? What should I do there? These are great, object lessons, interactions, but ultimately they're great sources of material to point kids to Christ. And that's really what it's about, whether you're reading just the Bible, whether you're picking up one of these books, is training up the child in the way he should go, so when he's old, he shall not depart, right? That's the goal, and should be the goal of every Christian parent. And as you guys come together for those family devotions, some nights, and I'll be the first to admit it, some nights it's exhausting. You've had a long day at work, or you've had a lot going on, and you just don't feel like doing it. Sometimes I have to lean on Janeal, like, I just don't feel like reading, or my eyes, I've got such a bad headache, I can't read today. You're going to have to read this devotion today. And there's going to be those times. But like you said, Tim, don't let that stop you. Choose today. Listen, I'm going to lead my family closer to Christ. I'm going to teach them the statutes of God. I'm going to use an object lesson or a parable or a story to point them to the things of God. It's one of the most important decisions that you can make as a parent for your child, to help get them to know who their creator and who their savior actually is. So,
yeah, right.
So, Tim, thank you so much for coming on and taking your time away from your family and taking time out of your day, and from writing, because you've got more books to write, taking some time to hang out with us. But before we let you go, we have a little segment on the show we call Fun Facts with Fuller, where we're going to give a fact for the day. So I want you to stick around for this, and we're going to do a fun fact real fast. Are you ready for it?
I'm ready.
All right, here we go.
Time for Fun Facts with Fuller.
All right, that was our 3 small children. Well, 2, actually, that was just our girls from years and years ago. But today's fun fact is only one city has won 3 major championships in one year. In 1935, the Detroit Lions won the Super Bowl, the Tigers won the World Series, and the Red Wings won the Stanley Cup. I thought that was interesting because it's kind of close to us.
Of course you put the Tigers in there because they're your favorite.
I'm a Tigers fan, so what can I say?
Oh, that's great.
But that's our fun fact of the day. Again, Tim, we thoroughly appreciate you coming on today, and really just helping our listeners out, our family, our community. Them. Absolutely. And so we just thank you so much for coming on. And so, appreciate you.
Hey, thanks so much. It was great to be here. Anytime. Love to come back.
All right.
Awesome.
We appreciate it. Well, Tim, I'm going to put you back in the green room, and we'll touch base with you here in just a second, okay?
Excellent.
All right. And for all of you out there in podcast land, thank you guys for joining us today on Real Talk Christian Podcast. If you have not already, you're going to want to like and follow us, because we're going to have a lot more fun conversations like this going forward and bring in different people. But especially today's conversation, I would encourage you guys to go over and check out Tim's website. I'll put it in the bottom of the show notes. So all you got to do is go and look at the show notes. Don't forget to pick up a copy that's on. We bought our copies on Amazon. It's that easy. They were here very, very quickly. So go over and do that today. If you haven't checked out our YouTube page, go over to YouTube, Real Talk Christian Podcast, and hit that bell button and that subscribe button. So when we're on, Also, if you have not joined our Facebook community page, Real Talk Christian Podcast, on our community on Facebook, go do that now, where we're continuing the conversations day in and day out. We have Bible studies, we have prayer, we have questions, we have things, conversations about what's going on in the world. We just had a very interesting one about President Donald Trump. That was very interesting.
You said don't get political.
I'm just saying it was an interesting one. So if you haven't done that already, head over to Facebook and join our community page. If you guys are in need of a Bible, again, don't forget, we do ship those out for free. Hit us up, name, address, we'll get that sent to you right away. I think that's everything, Janeal. Is there anything that you think I'm missing?
I don't think so.
All right. Well, I guess until next time.
Take it easy.